Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP, but I got to talk about a few other things as well, like this. White House proposes 30% tax on electricity used for Bitcoin and crypto mining. Now, we knew this was coming. Now it's officially proposed. And I don't like this at all. First of all, it pushes innovation out of this country, and it still continues to push their anti-crypto agenda as well. But if you look at this in the right way, it's a double tax. Think about it. You got to pay a 30% tax on the electricity used to mine Bitcoin. Then once you sell Bitcoin, you got to pay the capital gains tax on top of that. I feel this is wrong in so many ways. It's anti-American. The banking collapse of 2023 is now officially bigger than the banking collapse of 2008. Back in November, I was talking about the banks, and there was problems back then, and I mentioned it in a video, and people said, "You're crazy, the banks are totally safe, and the economy is actually getting better." Well, here we are today, and the banking system's falling apart. And I think this is going to lead to an emergency situation when multiple banks fall all at once. And that's what they're pushing for, because they're pushing for that consolidation to happen. Or maybe they're controlling how fast these banks are collapsing out based on how much JP Morgan wants to buy up along the way. But again, I don't feel the banks are safe at all. And in yesterday's video, some of you said in the comment section, you're always talking about getting away from the bank. But how do you do that? How do you survive by doing that? Well, what I did, and this has been working out for me, is I have my bills come out within a 3-day period in a month. And I put the cash in there to cover those bills. I don't use a debit or credit card. I try to not use them at all. So when I go to the grocery store, I pay cash. When I get gas, I pay cash. But then whatever I could afford to lose, I throw that into crypto. I don't throw it into a savings account because I know at some point crypto is absolutely going to skyrocket. But that works for me. You might have a better, clever idea on how you could get away from the banks. And I just figured I would share that since you all asked me what I do. Now, also in the comments section, you said you talk about politics a lot in your video. Well, you really can't talk about crypto without talking about politics right now, because I think crypto is going to play a very important role in the 2024 elections. But then there's this. U.S. Democratic Congresswoman Lois Frankel sold her First Republic Bank shares just before it plunged 80%, then bought shares in JP Morgan, which bought the failed bank. Just a coincidence? Of course. Now, if me or you did this, we would be arrested for insider trading. But because it's politicians doing it, it's totally fine. I don't think politicians should be able to touch stock, period. And I think what they're doing is so hypocritical. They don't want me or you to get rich in any way, but they want to enrich themselves as much as possible. A $1 trillion platinum coin could save the U.S. from economic catastrophe in less than a month. It would be fast, legal, and no bigger than a regular coin. How about this? We don't make this platinum coin that could fit in a parking meter, and you stop spending money. Because every time they spend money, guess who pays for that? Me and you. You know, I'm so tired of hearing about this country's debt. We're never paying this debt off. They have no intention on doing it. And then they always want to raise taxes and say it's to pay off that debt. No, it's not, because you're not paying anything. You're creating more debt along the way. U.S. Federal Reserve raises interest rates by 25 BPS, signals suspension. So it looks like he might not raise rates going forward. But why would you raise rates at a time when banks are collapsing? Because this is the same guy pushing for a CBDC. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wades further into crypto following anti-CBDC remarks. So Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came out swinging on behalf of the digital asset industry on Tuesday, criticizing what he called a war on crypto, following earlier remarks he made opposing a U.S. CBDC. You know, what's really funny about this is I see people that say, I voted Republican in the last election, and I still feel that this guy is doing a better job than who we have in office right now. And I think it's because we are at a time where people have money invested in the crypto, and more people are coming into crypto all the time. And they're going to vote for pro crypto candidates. And they're definitely going to vote for whoever is anti CBDC as well. Because even people outside of crypto understand what a CBDC is, and they don't want it. They realize it's a surveillance system. And in yesterday's video, some of you in the comments section said that I'm Democratic. Honestly, I voted Republican in the past 2 elections. And it's because I vote for whoever's going to fight for this country and fight for the American people. I don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican. If they're pro-America, that's who I vote for. If they're pro-crypto and anti-CBDC, I'm pro that, because I don't want a CBDC either, even though I know CBDCs will enrich us in the future because we're XRP holders. I would rather stay poor and stay free than get rich and end up in slavery. That's the way I look at it. I still do, however, believe that if you enrich yourself, you can avoid the CBDC system in the future as well. But you see what I mean? You can't talk about crypto without talking about politics right now, because the two are they're clashing together because of the anti-crypto army and the SEC. And then you see the White House and their stance on crypto. Then you see future politicians or future elected officials that are swaying either way around crypto as well. It's hard. And I also want to bring you the facts at the same time. So 2023 Faster Payments Council Volante report on current state of FedNow real-time payments in the U.S. So it looks like they still have a lot of holdouts around FedNow. And I think a lot of people just aren't going to get involved with it. I still think FedNow is going to be a huge failure. But then there's this, and take a listen, because this is very troubling. Ukraine is being used as a testing ground for digital ID and cashless society funded by the USA. Ukraine's tech industry has grown during the war with Russia. Let that sink in and have a listen.
20 million of Ukrainians using DIA. That's what proves it.
Yeah, and DIA, of course, is the first of its kind digital identity platform being used by government to provide government services.
So we started actually working before the war on the notion of a pilot program with respect to a large bank in Ukraine, Tascombank, on developing the e-hryvnia. We actually provide the technology layer that they build on. Like, we've been working with them, but the teams there have worked through the war to be able to make this happen. Actually, at the time when we met in the period in 2021, they were very focused on moving to a cashless society and on bringing in as much technology into Ukraine as possible, so that not only you could benefit from the Ukrainians could benefit from it, but you could actually take advantage of the population within Ukraine that was so digitally savvy and so focused on technological advancement.
So in many ways, USAID has really prioritized the digital economy. We think it's an incredible highlight of Ukraine's strength. Paradoxically, even though Ukraine is undergoing incredible pressure and devastation economically as a result of Russia's reinvasion, the Ukrainian tech sector has actually grown during the war. And again, I think that's an incredible indication not only of the ingenuity of the Ukrainian people, the strength of the sector to not only survive, but frankly thrive amidst incredible pressure. And then, of course, as you've described, which we're happy to discuss, I'm sure, on the panel, Ukraine has become a model for the region, where countries, those that are both inside the EU like Estonia, outside like Moldova, are looking east to Ukraine for the example that it's set on digital economy to try to replicate and take the practices that the Ukrainians have so nobly and innovatively described and model it for their own countries. And I think USAID is really going to continue to be a proud partner of the technology sector to support Ukraine's digital strength and recovery as the country grows after the.
So we're putting money into the Ukraine, and we're using the Ukraine as a testing ground for a digital ID and a cashless society. That's what's going on over there right now. That should be very troubling if you live in the US, because they're going to bring that technology right back to the US at some point. May 29, 2023, that's today. Swift Transaction Manager will finally start processing ISO 222 payments. The interlinking capabilities of ISO will allow Swift to settle through XRP. I have no idea what low volume means, but this will be the start. And if you take a look, you see PAX.008 is used for single payments in the form of customer credit transfer. 009 is used for settling high value payments in real time, RTGs. COV covers to transactions where multiple payments are bundled together. Core indicates messages used for single payments. Like I said before, I don't think we've seen any value come from ISO yet. I think it's going to all start at the end of this month, once a lot of those payments start going live. Ripple does not replace conventional payment channels like Swift, but connects them. Plus, Ripple actively integrates into the banking industry. Banks act as nodes in Ripple's network. And that's why Ripple and Swift can work together. It's easy for Swift to integrate RippleNet and XRP into it at some point. But then what about this? How come people stop talking about this all of a sudden? This goes all the way back to 2018. Ripple's strategic objectives: capture Forex market, $5.1 trillion. Capture derivatives market, $1.2 quadrillion. Provides banks liquidity via XRapid and XRP, $27 trillion. Total, $1.232 quadrillion. Even if XRP captures only 10% of that total, it equals to $1,232 per XRP. And I think Ripple is going to capture more like 20 to 30% of that. And I think they're going to capture more and more over time, year over year. That's how you would get to a 10K XRP at some point. But all of a sudden, people stop talking about that now. And I remember this back in 2018, it was all conspiracy theory. They said Swift is never going to utilize RippleNet. They're never going to work with Ripple, period. But now we're starting to see Swift and Ripple come together even more. And XRP is always going to be in there as that trust layer and that liquidity provider as well. I think we are at a time where it's too unbelievable to see XRP go from 40 some cents all the way up to $100. But once it gets to $100, I think everybody's going to change. The whole narrative is absolutely going to shift. I think once we surpass $10 or $20, that's going to happen, because then people can actually see the future. It's hard to picture a coin, a cryptocurrency, going from where we're at now to high numbers. I think that's why most people disbelieve the high numbers for XRP. Ripple is in dialogue with over 20 central banks on CBDCs. And you see, so we are in dialogue with not 10, not 20, but a bunch more central banks around the world on these discussions. And we know the banks are going to utilize XRP as well. It's always been part of the plan. And Ripple's been out there laying all that pipe work for XRP in the future. The competitor leaderboard, Ripple was ranked number 1 an established leader for CBDCs for several reasons: its existing success with RippleNet and its technological capabilities within the space, its existing deployments and growth within the emerging space. So Ripple got ranked number 1 around CBDCs. That's why we see so many countries working with them. But let's go back for 1 second. In 2018, this was all conspiracy theory. This was never going to happen. Most people back then told people, you're crazy if this is going to happen maybe in 2050. You know, people couldn't see that. They couldn't understand the fact that CBDCs were only a few years away. Here we are in 2023. Every country's getting ready to roll one out. So at the same time that people can't believe that XRP could hit those high prices in the future, once it starts happening, all of a sudden people will believe it. It's just a matter of if you still have that vision alive in you to know what you hold, know where this crypto's going in the future. And that's why I always told you, you know, I show you things that are going on in the world because everything comes together. Crypto and the banking system, everything that's going on around the banks collapsing and CBDCs rising, it's all playing the same game. And in the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the SEC case because there's been a lot of talk around that lately. I hate to even talk about it. I want the judge to rule on that case and get it done and over with, but yet people are still hyped up around it. So I want to do something quick on it. So we'll see in the next one. I want to thank you all for watching my videos. I appreciate all of you. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.